Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
And good evening, everyone. Live, Rich Mancuso, as always, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's Keep It in the Ring for this Thursday, January 30, 2025, the last Thursday, the first month of the new year. How quick it went. We're there. We're going into February. I can't believe it already. That's good for you, fight fans. We'll talk about February because it's a big month of boxing in February coming up. We'll get into that this week. And we're going to talk, of course, in a moment. Who's handling the controls with me tonight? Tommy D here at Keep It in Ring with Rich Mancuso. Benavidez, Morrell. That's the fight. The anticipated fight. It's here. It's Saturday night from Las Vegas to the Cosmopolitan. We'll break it down. The latest on Teofimo Lopez. He's got a mandatory from the WBO to defend his title. And, of course, Diego Pacheco this past weekend making a statement at 168. Plus much more boxing news. UFC news, WWE Royal Rumble coming up on Saturday as well. We'll get into that. AEW and the Rebel Rant live once again. Look forward to that. Back to the week nostalgia, much more. This is Keep It in the Ring with Rich Mancuso. Don't forget my social media, X, Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. That'd be much appreciated. String Punk Entertainment, AGT Network, and like the Keep It in the Ring page. Fans, read my content also on Latinosports.com. And sadly to say, today was the end of New York Sports Day and my venture there. They've gone out. The media business has changed. I had a nice run with them. It's time to move on. I'll be okay. It's just that I will miss writing for NewYorkSportsDay.com. They closed the door on everyone. That's a part of this business today. All right, enough of that hogwash, drifting that and all of this, and let's get to it for the next hour because we'll first start with one of the top 3 fighters in the world, pound for pound, from Japan, top-ranked fighter, undefeated super bantamweight, Inoue. He remained defeated. ESPN Plus. You had to be up 4 a.m. Eastern time to watch him, and if you did, you see what I'm talking about. The super bantamweight champ remained undefeated, 29-0, 26 knockouts. Pressure from the start, the 5th-round knockout over the late sub Jae-Yoon Kim in Tokyo, where Inoue has been having most of his fights in his stellar career to be a top pound-per-pound fighter. 4th round, put on the pressure, body shots, left-right combos, you name it, he does it. Now the question is, where does he go next? Because Bob Arum, immediately after his latest title defense, got in the ring and said, prepare Inoue for Las Vegas. At some point in this spring, Top Rank will bring their Japanese champion, one of the top pound-per-pound fighters in the world today, to Vegas, where he makes his debut in the United States. That's where he belongs. Not that he doesn't belong in Japan, but to get the exposure he deserved, that's where the great Inoue belongs, in the United States. And Bob Arum says, with Top Rank, he will be there in April. Inoue said yes, and he's going to be exploring more at this latest title defense. He said Vegas, he's looking forward to fighting there. Saudi Arabia with the kings and princes and the Turkey. Bob Arum's opened up the door for that also for this young man. Maybe going to a higher weight class. He's talking Inoue versus maybe Gervonta Davis. That was talk after this fight. So stay tuned to this, but watch for Inoue to debut in the United States some point this spring, according to Bob Arum, Top Rank. That's the plan. He's a puncher, a jabber, and most of all, one of the pound-per-pound best in the sports. And thank you all for commenting so far. We'll try to get to all of them. Appreciate it. It's pretty tough to get to them as I'm reading along and going along with you, but I thank you. We'll try to get back to all of you. I want you to comment. You're a part of this show. So, Saturday, that was also a big day of boxing on the zone. We had about 7 hours of boxing beginning during the day. And you saw Dalton Smith with the first round knockout defeated Walid Quizzer, round 1, for the vacant European junior welterweight title. Now, we don't know much about Smith. Again, he fights basically in Europe, in England, in the UK. European junior welterweight title is 27 years old. From the onset at the Nottingham Arena in England, he had it going. 33 years old right away. 17 years old, 17-0, undefeated. First punch, he wants the winner. The WBC junior welterweight title match between Alberto Puello and Sander Martin on March 1st. That's what Dalton is aiming for now. Dalton Smith. Powerful puncher, very quick, relatively unknown here in the United States, promoted by Matchroom, but Smith could be facing some highly touted more opponents in the months to come in this year based on what we saw, a quick first-round stoppage over in Nottingham, England. And then we talk about this guy, the rising superstar in the sport. On the Zone with Matchroom later in the evening, had a full day of boxing on Saturday. The young man, Diego Pacheco, at 160 weight, 8. At the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, Nevada, Pacheco sent his message, though said he needs more improvement. And basically, that could be true to a point based on what he did with Steven Nelson. But he's on his way possibly to a title at 168. He is eyeing Canelo Alvarez, who is the champion in that division, as you know, and reigns with one exception, not having the IBF title that belongs to William Sco. 12 rounds it took him to defeat Steven Nelson, who gave him, Pacheco gave Nelson a lot of props. Nelson also got to respect this young man, Pacheco, and said he's going to be a champion soon. 12 rounds, all judges had it 117 and 111. Nelson gave in the 10th round. Pacheco rights and 3 more after that. He kept it going, put on the pressure. Still a lesson for Pacheco, as he says. Take a look at the punch stats that tell the story, courtesy of CompuBox. Pacheco, 132 of 464 punches thrown, 28% total punches compared to the 77 of 560, 14% for Nelson. That basically tells the story. Pacheco, 74 to 39 in a advantage in power. That also tells the story, because this young man has power, and the punch stats tell the story. But Pacheco said afterwards about the title, he's almost ready. He's almost ready, meaning he's not ready. And even Eddie Hearn, his promoter at Matchroom, said there could be some great fights ahead for this young man, and indeed there will be. Pacheco admits he had to do better. Even though he got the deciding victory, he feels, even at his age, and he's young enough to know that, and he's smart enough to know that, there is room for improvement. But he made the statement, he wants the guys in the top 5. And who could they be? What could be next for this young rising superstar at 168 before getting a shot maybe at Canelo Alvarez? What's next for Diego Pacheco? Well, the names come out. Jaime Munguia, who went the distance with Canelo last year, or Edgar Berlanga, who went the distance with Canelo last year. Edgar Berlanga, by the way, setting up for some type of match bout in March to be determined who, where, or when. Could it be Jamar Charlo, who's been inactive? Khalid Plant, who's also been in there with the best of 168, or the undefeated Christian Mobili, a rising undefeated fighter at 168. But is Diego Pacheco ready for Canelo Alvarez next? There's still talk that Canelo Alvarez might have Terence Crawford, which would be a mega fight in the industry and could happen maybe as soon as May on Cinco de Mayo. But for Diego Pacheco to get Canelo Alvarez now, well, he's not ready for him. Let's face it. But a Munguia, Berlanga, Charlo, or a Plant, or even a Christian Mbouli would be an interesting matchup for this young man. We have no opponent yet for Canelo set in May, though that would be nice to see him go after and unify the titles again at 168 against the IBF champ William Sco. Diego Pacheco, my friends, is real. Diego Pacheco, my friends, though he did not dispose Steven Nelson, a gutsy veteran who's in the Terrence Crawford camp, right away, he showed where he's at 168. The super middleweight is ready for some bigger fights. As he pointed out again, he needs more improvement, and I commend him for saying that. And he's ready, though, he says, give me one of the top 5. And indeed, he's going to get it. Good zone matchroom undercard before Diego Pacheco. As a rising star, Andy Cruz remained undefeated from Cuba, 5-0, 2 knockouts. He defeated the IBF International, WBA, Continental, Latin American lightweight titles. He defended them alphabet soup. That's why I can't pronounce it. Okay, and Angel Diaz, he's not ready. As he says, Terrence Crawford's very good. I want to see that one. Good point, Angel. Thank you. So Cruz with the unanimous decision over Omar Salcido. Salcido was quite a veteran in there. 22-14 KOs out of Mexico. So it was a Mexican war. 10 rounds. Judges had it right. 99-91, 98-92 twice. Andy Cruz, one of those others. Though 5-0. Get it off to a great start. Ready maybe for some of the top fighters in the division and maybe ready for a bigger title opportunity, a bigger championship on his waist. And 3-time amateur champion, Olympic gold medalist in control from the beginning is Andy Cruz, a 3-time amateur champ. Started his pro career late. That's why he's 5-0. He's got the skill, got the power, combinations, got it all going for him. And how about Ernesto Mercado, super lightweight, 17-0, 16 knockouts, 4 rounds, defeated 2-time champ Jose Pedraza, the veteran. Pedraza, 29-7-1. He's been around. 10 rounds are scheduled. He dropped Pedraza. The TKO at 52 seconds. Mercado with the combinations, the head and body shots. He's 23 years old. So you talk about another superstar, rising young superstar in the sport. It's that man, that young man, Ernesto Mercado, who went on to win before Diego Pacheco got his win. So good night of boxing on the zone. Matchroom Boxing on the zone has a full schedule ahead, including that big supercard coming up in Saudi Arabia on February 22nd. One fight after another, good for pay-per-view. Title fights galore up and down the card. More about that in the coming few weeks here on the program. Most interest, though, with the light heavyweight rematch for unification. Dmitry Bivol tries to get those titles back from Arturo Benavidez. Yeah, Angel Diaz, thank you again. So you think Andy is ready for Keyshawn Davis? And, very good point. Not yet. Maybe one more, and we can maybe see Davis and Cruz, which would be an interesting matchup. Hey, how about doing it in New York, too? So Ryan Garcia has been quiet. That's because he's training for his comeback fight. And, of course, him and Devin Haney are in that stage now where they win both their fights coming up in a few months after Ryan Garcia's suspension is lifted. And Garcia-Haney headed for that clash, their second fight, which I said for months was going to happen. It was inevitable. However, today, Garcia comes out and says he's all for now getting VADA testing. Voluntary drug testing, which is a big point was a part of his suspension in April in that fight of last April 1st with Devin Haney. So Garcia has acquiesced to VADA testing voluntarily, and all of this stigma and all of this hurt and all this talk and negativity will be over because Garcia, if he does the VADA testing voluntarily, has no way to say, or there could be no one to say, it becomes out negative, that he cheated. So he's on the right track, and that's good for Ryan Garcia, and that's good for the sport, because I've always said, as bad as Garcia has been with his image, despite his tremendous following, he's still a superstar in this sport. Hasn't been in the ring since last April, and everyone keeps talking about him. And he's been inactive on social media. But to him, that's not good because he's a social media phenom. But let him do the fighting in the ring, and he's going to get ready to do it. And now he's going for the VADA testing. And this guy, Teofimo Lopez, the WBO champion at 140. He's busy on social media. He's a new Ryan Garcia, but not as bad, my friends. He's vouching for 15-round fights. He's old school like me. Yeah, why not do it? He says, let's do it. All for the sport. 12 rounds back to 15 in championship fights. But the WBO champion has an issue because the WBO this week ruled he has to have a mandatory defense of his title, and that could come with the winner of Jack Catterall and Arnold Barboza. They fight Saturday, January 15th. To ensure there's no interim champion in that division, they want a single champ, the WBO. Good for them, part of the alphabet soup organizations. If Teofimo fails to comply with this mandatory between Catterall and Arnold Barboza, well, he could be stripped of that title. And Teofimo, as we know, is looking for bigger and better fights, even eyeing guys like Terrence Crawford, even eyeing guys more so in 140 wants to take over, a division where he should stay. He may go to 147 and try to unify against Gerard Boots Ennis. What are your thoughts? Like, comment, and subscribe here on my channel on YouTube. Let me know your thoughts on Teofimo Lopez and where he goes with this WBO junior welterweight title. But Teofimo on X, where he's becoming very popular, had words with the champion, Richardson Hitchens. Here you go. Good or bad thugs, he says. He's renamed Richardson Retarded Bitchins. That's more like Ryan Garcia, my friends, not Teofimo Lopez. Though Lopez can mouth off and can be controversial at times, but a comment like that on his X page saying, renaming Richardson Hitchin with disrespect, retarded Hitchens, retarded bitchins. Well, Teofimo wants to make a statement. He wants the unified titles of 140, and that's a fight that would be in demand if they could make it. And there's been talk and buzz about Hitchens and Teofimo unifying at 140. Like him or not, Teofimo Lopez is very talented. We know that. At 140, his first few fights, not as dominant as he was at 135, where he unified the lightweight titles before losing to George Kambosos Jr. However, Hitchens and Teofimo Lopez, that would be a darn good fight, and they're buzzing about it on X. At least Teofimo is, and Hitchens and him are going back and forth. And as I tell you time and time again, week after week, fans, when fighters go on back and forth on social media, that's where you find out what's going on. That's where potential fights are eventually made. Need I tell you? Garcia Henny, back and forth, back and forth. And by the way, Devin Henny looks like he's going to drop that lawsuit against Ryan Garcia that claimed that he was detrimental to him on April 1st of last year by not coming in at weight and by using illegal substances, steroids. And to get that fight going again, Garcia, Henny, too, a major part to get it done is Henny lifting that lawsuit, and it looks like that's going to happen. All right, also on the Zone Saturday, we saw a lot of other interesting developments, including Eddie Hearn saying that, the Conor Ben and fight will go on with, I'm trapped right now. Chris Eubanks Jr. That fight's happening in April for sure. Plus many other fights being discussed. Many other fights are on the calendar. Check your boxing schedule. It's going to be a full few months ahead, including that major supercard again in Saudi Arabia of April 22nd. All right. The fight everyone is talking about coming up on Saturday, and that's going to be on pay-per-view.com. And it's also going to be on the Zone pay-per-view. Oh, no, Amazon Prime pay-per-view and pay-per-view.com. David Morrell, 2 undefeated fighters out of Cuba. The WBC light heavyweight champ, David Benavidez, undefeated. David Morrell of Cuba. Going to be a brawl. Benavidez' power, and he can, and of course the puncher also in Morrell. 50-50 fight. Most boxing experts are saying that. There they were today at the press conference, the final one in Las Vegas, MGM Grand Arena, and they hate each other. Animosity. They didn't come to brawl today, but at the weigh-in tomorrow, look out for it. But the undercard is also going to be something to see. And we're going to talk more about Benavidez and Morrell in a moment. My buddy Tommy D. handling controls. We're going to break this down in a moment. Figueroa Fulton is going to be a good one. WBC featherweight title. And so will Pitbull Cruz, the former champion in 140 versus Figueroa. A rematch, of course, with Fulton and Figueroa. That's going to be a rematch, and that one is anticipated. Jesus Ramos Jr. and Jason Rosario, middleweights. That is going to be another good one. So you got a good 3 fights before Benavidez and Morrell on Amazon Prime, pay-per-view, and The Zone. We'll be looking for this. We're going to be talking about this fight after it's done. And look at the weigh-in tomorrow to see if they get into a brawl. They almost did today. A lot of bad words between the two. It goes back. And it'll end in the ring Saturday night. Let me bring in Tommy D, handling the controls with me tonight, my good colleague and friend. Tommy, are you there?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Rich?
All right.
What's going on?
I don't know if you want to show you. You got your face there in the background. Thanks for handling the controls with me tonight. And let's break this fight down, me and you, briefly. First of all, what do you like about the undercard first? Who do you like out of those 3 fights that precede Benavidez and Morrell?
I like the Fulton versus Figueroa fight. I think that's going to be that's very intriguing. Fulton won the first matchup. Some people said it was controversial. It was a closer fight than what people thought. He won, I believe, a majority decision. And then after that, he had to fight with Inoue, and he kind of, disappeared, took a break for a little bit. So now the rematch is at a bigger weight. I think Figueroa looks a lot bigger and stronger at this weight, at featherweight. But I'm intrigued to see how Fulton does. In his last fight, he didn't look so good. He got dropped, but he came back up and ended up winning a decision in his last fight. But I'm going to go with Figueroa. So I'm very intrigued in this fight. To be honest, that's the only fight I'm really interested in. The undercard to me is not that, as stacked.
Oh, I like Pitbull. Tommy, I like that fight, but I like Pitbull Cruz because he's the former champion. He needs to win. He wants to get back into that mix of getting a title at 140. So I'm intrigued with him all the time. He pulled off that upset, losing, won the title. And then he later lost it. So he's been on the way back. And I think he wins this fight against Figueroa, though. I like that. I like seeing Pitbull Cruz every time he's in the ring.
Yeah, but he's exciting to watch. But he's tailor made for some fighters. I mean, he beat a guy in Romero. I don't think Rolly's any good. We'll talk about that more, I guess, when the Ryan fight comes. I guess he's going to.
Yeah.
But he's very one dimensional. Like, you know what he's going to do. He's there. He's going to come straight forward. He's going to have both hands up, and he's going to throw hooks. So. I'm not, too excited about him. This guy's tailor-made for him. I think he's going to stop this guy, look good in doing it, but then where does he go from here?
Exactly. That's a good point. But again, he's got to win Pitbull Cruz. Otherwise, I don't know where he'll get a shot again.
Yeah.
Jesus Ramos Jr. and Jason Rosario. Interesting matchup.
That is interesting. Jose Rosario is a very good fighter. He comes to fight. But this, I think Ramos should win this fight. He's an up-and-coming fighter. He's looking to make a statement. I believe he does so against a good veteran in Rosario.
All right, so 3 good fights preceding the one we're all waiting for. The build-up has been unbelievable from Las Vegas on Saturday night from the MGM Grand, pay-per-view.com, and The Zone. It's not a heavy price either. I don't even know what the price is of the card, but
I think it's close to $80.
Is it $80?
I think so. I think it's close to $80.
Because you know why? Because this is the PBC. It's not the Turk guy in Saudi Arabia who says fights pay-per-view can't be at that extraordinary price. He's charging like anywhere from $18 to $29, which is great for the fight fans. So maybe the PBC eventually, if they keep doing this on Amazon Prime, will follow suit. But we're waiting for this. The two undefeated at 175 light heavyweights. A lot on the line as well.
Mhm.
You know, Benavidez and Morrell. It's going to be no doubt the toughest opponent for Benavidez, who says he's going to break Morrell's jaw and just take him apart. They can't stand each other.
No,
But the inexperience of Morrell has got me wondering, can he handle Benavidez? Also, he's moving up in weight class. What do you think, Tom?
it's a tough fight to call. I don't want to change my pick. I've been rocking with Morrell for the last couple years. I know some people in the chat following may disagree. Jose Angel Diaz, who's been in the chat, he knows Morrell. He's a Cuban descent. He knows Morrell. He's worked with the team, so he's saying in the chat, he's saying that Morrell is ready. They've been testing him almost every day to make sure he's on point. And then I have another friend in the chat, Judah, who's a big Benavidez fan. But I'm going to stick with Morrell. Both guys about 6'1", 6'2", I believe. Benavidez has the height advantage by half an inch of 1 inch. Morrell has the reach advantage. He's got a 78 arm reach, as in Benavidez has a 74.5 arm reach. Southpaw for Morrell. This is going to be David Morrell's toughest fight, as well as David Benavidez's tough fight, as on both sides. I think experience will play a factor in this fight. Obviously, Benavidez has more experience, but I'm still rolling Morrell. I like the slick counterpuncher. He's got pop, and I think the keys to this fight is going to be whether or not can David Morrell handle the pressure of David Benavidez, who overwhelms you. His defense is his offense. He throws.
Got power.
Yeah,
he's got power. Yeah, and Tom, what I love about him is he brings it on later on, strong. And when he throws a punch to the body, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one thing about David Benavidez. He gets stronger as the fight goes on. So let's see two things. Can Morrell handle the pressure, right? Because Benavidez is going to throw a bunch of punches every round, right? And can he counter and set traps for Benavidez and gain his respect? I mean, when Morrell hits Benavidez, does he get Benavidez's respect and maybe slows down Benavidez? That's the key. If he cannot do that, it's going to be a long night for David Morrell.
Yeah, I look. You talk to the people in boxing the last few days, and you read their comments, and most have it, a majority, as a 50-50 fight, and then a lot of them are going with Benavidez. I personally think Benavidez wins this fight, and I think he gets a late stoppage. That's my feel on it. But he's got to watch Morrell, because Morrell has power as well. And he's quick. He's quick.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think it's all about respect, and I think it's whether or not Morrell. I think we know what Benavidez is going to do, and we kind of know what Morrell's going to do. But the only difference is that Morrell hasn't been in there with a top guy, like Benavidez, so he doesn't have that experience. How is he going to handle the pressure and experience that Benavidez is going to bring to him? That is the only question mark. I'm still sticking with Morrell. I think he sets up traps for Benavidez. I think he's going to be well conditioned in this fight. I think Ronnie Shields is going to have a game plan, and they have him ready to outbox him. I always go with the better boxer of the two. I think he's a better boxer than Benavidez, and I'm going to take David Morrell in a split decision win over Benavidez.
Wow. Well, you're one of the few that are going with Morrell, Tom. You know that.
Yeah, I'm one of the few. I just didn't want to change it. I don't like the energy that Benavidez has. Like, it's kind of intimidating me, and I'm not in the ring. I think he's very angry. He looks, and he's been angry before. Like, Caleb Plant got underneath his skin, and
yeah. Well, that's Benavidez's persona, whether you're building up, hyping a fight or whatever. But when guys get under his skin, he lets them know. He lets them know. We saw that with Plant. I was seeing it with Morrell here. I'm looking for Benavidez to come out strong, and but I don't see Morrell giving in to him at all. And I'm going with Benavidez to win the decision, and I could see not unanimous, split decision. But I look for it to be a very good fight when it comes to strategy, as well as it being it could be a brawl.
Hmm.
That's what I see, the brawl, because more so as a brawl because they really hate each other.
Yeah, they
I
really
don't
do.
even know if the end, if these two, be it goes decision or whatever, if these two will embrace and hug like most fights do when there's all that hype and all that animosity before. They really hate each other. That's known.
Yeah. I think if it goes 12, it goes the distance, I think you'll see a little bit of embracement. One thing we don't want, I don't want to see a brawl because if I'm backing Morrell and I'm picking Morrell, I don't want to see a brawl because that favors Benavidez in my opinion.
Right.
So we don't want to see that. I want to see traps being made by Morrell. I want to see good counter punching, some slick movement by Morrell, and I want to see Benavidez do what Benavidez does, and I want to see the chess match in the ring. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
that's what I want to see. I don't want to see a brawl.
Tommy, these are the fights fans want to see, and we're getting a major one on the calendar to begin the month of February, and there'll be so many more in February. But let's go back to this fight and let's take a look at styles again, because I think in the end, the styles of these two will determine where it's going to go. Do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the first few rounds is going to tell the story, right? And whether or not Morrell can keep that game plan on for 12 rounds. Because listen, when Cater Plant fought Benavidez, I thought Cater Plant won like 4 of the first 5 rounds. I thought he looked good, and then Benavidez got stronger, and then Plant kind of tired down. So can Morrell handle it? I mean, this is 12 rounds. The lights. Right, David Morrell's never been under the big lights either. So will the lights,
Exactly.
will
His
it be too
first
bright
pay
for
per
him?
view fight. It's his
Yeah,
first pay per view fight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Will the lights be too bright for him? We don't
Well,
know.
he didn't seem frazzled or phased about any of it at the press conference, the final one in Vegas earlier today. We'll see how they react to each other at the weigh-in tomorrow, and I expect them to go face to face and brawl tomorrow because
Yeah.
you could see that tension even more building up at the presser today. But more so too, Tommy, is that the winner of this fight supposedly is going to get the winner of the rematch between Benavidez and Vival.
That's what I'm hearing and what I've been reading as well. I mean, seeing is believing. Let's see what happens because what if Bivol beats Benavidez, right? You assume they'll do a third fight if that was to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm actually going to pick Artur Beterbiev
Well,
to beat him
Appian brings up a
again.
point here in the
Yeah.
comments. He says Benavidez is scared. He tried his hardest to intimidate Morrell during the face-off and failed horribly. No, I just think David Benvenidez. I think Benvenidez was just trying to control himself. If he had to let go, he would have. I saw a different perspective of that from the comment that just came up. But yeah, I think there's a lot riding on this fight besides how good a fight this can be. But again, the winner supposedly gets Vival winner for those light heavyweight titles. And Benavidez has said that this is where he's staying at light heavyweight, and he's not moving down to fight Canelo at 168. I don't know if I could believe that because if the money's great and the Turk guy and the Kings and Princes are throwing at them, they're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Benavidez go down 168 with no problem. That's his natural weight. And you fight for all that money against Canelo Alvarez. How can you turn it down?
No, that's a no-brainer. I mean, if they're throwing all this money for him to take that fight with Canelo, and that's the fight you've been wanting for like the last couple years, you're taking that fight. I don't care what anybody says.
See what Judah just said? I don't think the lights will be a factor, but fight night on your first pay-per-view is different. That's a good point.
Yeah, excellent point.
Thank you, Judah, for the comment. All right, so Thomas, here's how I got it. Benavidez wins it by split decision, comes on strong, and it's going to go the distance, 12 rounds. I would love to see this be a 15-round fight like Teofimo Lopez is vouching for again, old school. Your pick again?
I'm taking David Morrell. I'm gonna take the upset. He is the underdog in this fight, so I'm gonna take the upset. I'm gonna take Morrell in a split decision win.
And I'm not going to bet you on it because I'm not a betting man.
We could bet
Maybe
a bottle of
dinner or
water.
something.
Yeah, we could do that.
Maybe dinner or something, which I owe you, by the way.
That's
Let's
all
move on from this and look at Xander Zayas, guy in back of me every week for a moment. 154, getting ready for his fight again at Madison Square Garden Theater, February 14th. And he says he's ready for a title at 154. Do you agree?
I think so. One thing he's got to be aware of, and I think he's take steps up in every fight. And this fight, I think he's fighting an undefeated guy. I don't know much about the guy he's fighting, but the guy's undefeated. He has a little bit of pop, which is good. I think they're moving him in the right direction. He's still very young. You know what I'm saying? So I think he is ready for a title shot, but got to be careful. This division is stacked. 154 has a lot of good
He's
fights.
not ready for Sebastian Fundora, do you think?
I think he's ready for Sebastian Fedora. Listen, he was trying to get the Virgil Ortiz fight a few months ago.
But
I
he's
think
got a
he's ready.
smart Hall of Fame promoter, Bob Arum, that's milking him properly and is not going to throw him in there right away like that. He's waiting. And I think at some point by this year, he'll get a title shot.
I think so. I think maybe towards the end of the year. I think right now they're going to see who Fundora. I think he has a fight lined up. You got another good fighter at that division in Charles Conwell. I think he's a stud.
Right.
And he deserves a title shot. He's been around for a while, so that's another guy you got to look out for. 154 second, and then you never know what Charlo's going to do. And is Crawford?
Do we know where Charlo? We don't even know if Charlo exists. He hasn't fought in such a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
So Charlo, this Bud has a title at that weight as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's the guy. 154, unless of course Bud Terrence Crawford wants to move to 168, jump up 2 weight classes, and go after Canelo. I think that fight's going to happen, and it'll be in Saudi Arabia. No, it might be here in the States. What the Turk guy said they do what they're going to do in the States. That's a fight that belongs here, not in Saudi Arabia. But remains to be seen. But this came out just a few days ago, believe it or not. Put it up. Jake Paul fighting his brother Logan on Max on March 27. They've been talking about this for a long time. Jake Paul celebrating 5 years today being a pro fighter, successfully fighting nobodies, saying he's the best. Why fight Logan, first of all, is in WWE. He's got a contract there, so I don't know what's behind this, Tommy.
And speaking
of
WWE,
are you really interested? No, I'm not interested.
I think speaking of WWE, I think that's what this would be. This would be a scripted fight. I don't see, how this fight would be real, and I don't believe it. And I don't believe that they really would, go at each other like, if it was another fighter. I just don't see it happening. I think it'll be
I can't see that.
Kind of like the Tyson.
But they're scheduling it. They say it's going to happen. Mac, the talk is that they're on Max on March 27th. Pay-per-view, obviously. Jake Paul only fights on pay-per-view. And you know what? It'll make a lot of money if they do it, brother versus brother.
People will buy it. Yeah.
Of course.
Jake Paul,
of course.
He's been filling up seats and they've been selling. I mean,
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Good for boxing, bad for boxing. I don't know. I can't get into either one of them. I'd rather see Logan in WWE. Jake Paul, to me, I will never take seriously until he fights the best. Tommy D, this is great. Behind the controls for me this week.
I appreciate
you. I will probably bring you back before we break up at the top of the hour and say goodnight and goodbye. Okay. In the meantime, we're going to take it to break. Time for the quick time out here at Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. We'll come back with some brief UFC MMA news and a lot of the pro wrestling talk, including the Royal Rumble for WWE. Also, this Saturday night from Indianapolis on Peacock, AEW News, and the live segment with my friend Robbie Rebel and the Rebel Rant. That's coming up next on Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Like, subscribe, comment to my channel here on YouTube, Stream Punk Entertainment, AGT Network, and of course, like the Facebook page, Keep It in the Ring. Back in a moment. Stay with us. This is Keep It in the Ring.
feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Back with Keep It in the Ring. We're going to get some UFC Knows Pro Wrestling segment. By the way, folks, that was an omission on my part, Tommy D's part. Pandemonium has been canceled. That coming from Jason and Desiree Knight, ACW. They got to move it back again. Desiree had some health issues. We wish her the best. She's on the road to recovery. So they say they're going to be back. So we put that up again by mistake. We shouldn't have. My apologies, but we'll talk more about that with Jason and Desiree as we move along on the program. All right, let's get to some brief UFC news before we get to the pro wrestling talk. This weekend, the second pay-per-view of the year, is you're going to have Dricius Plessis and Sean Strickland. The middleweight title, Strickland lost a split decision 5 rounds to Plessis in 2023. And UFC featherweight champ, Papiera, who you have to watch in the octagon to really appreciate his talents. He defends a title against Alexandra Volkanovski, April UFC 314. That came out just a couple of days ago. You're going to watch this young man because if you're a big fan of UFC MMA, this champion is exciting as can be. He does it all, strikes well and everything else. And more about that as you get into April. But UFC's got some pay-per-view action again, second of the year this coming weekend. All right. The pro wrestling news, and there's a lot of it. WWE at first with the Royal Rumble Saturday night, 6 p.m. Eastern start on Peacock. I don't like the time, but that's what they're doing. The Rumble, and we look at first John Cena, who's favored. Not really favored, but many saying that he is going to win the men's Royal Rumble part. And we'll get more into Cena and the entrance possibly in there. But congratulations to Triple H. That came out. Newest member, WWE Hall of Fame as part of WrestleMania weekend. Second time he's going in. Of course, he went in with Degeneration X. So he was as shocked as everyone else that he was going in solo WWE Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Triple H, creative director of WWE, and doing a good job with it. So a lot going on with WWE, and we could take a look at the Men's Royal Rumble again and look at John Cena. I love the Royal Rumble because you get a lot of surprises all the time. And you're going to see maybe some the nostalgia return, some of them from the past. A WWE history in the ring. Expect surprises, but expect maybe CM Punk to win it and not John Cena. Cena's scheduled for a WrestleMania rematch on his finale tour, but there's a lot of talk. He could win this Rumble, and he's going to main event WrestleMania with Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes would turn heel. The champion. So we'll see that. Speaking of turning heel, you could see that coming soon for Sami Zayn, who'll be in the Rumble. So will Roman Reigns. And you're also going to see a lot of, the luchadors in the Royal Rumble. You'll see that. Let's see. Who from the past do you think will be in there? What do you think? They always seem to do that every year. Someone who's healthy enough to get in the ring. I know Omos, the big, tall giant. He's been wrestling as a part of Pro Wrestling Noah, or he's been part of WWE. Still talk about Omos coming back, and this could be it. He was in the Royal Rumble, and he eliminates everyone. A couple of years ago, he spent a lot of time in the Rumble, throwing everyone over the top rope. And TNA, in their merger with WWE, or WWE working with them, they have a joint agreement, which is helping TNA tremendously. You see some TNA stars in the mix in the Rumble, and maybe even NXT. In fact, you will see NXT superstars in the Royal Rumble for the men and the women. But that guy, John Cena, will be the center of attention, and I think he's still going to win it, or is it going to be CM Punk, McIntyre in there at the end? We'll see. But it's my favorite PALE event on the WWE schedule, the Royal Rumble. And as far as the women, the female division needs a big boost. They're going to get it. Charlotte Flair is back. And Charlotte Flair, my friends, I believe will win the Rumble and Tiffany Stratton's title. They're doing the trade-off. So they're going, stars are moving from SmackDown, Raw, and vice versa. Charlotte Flair, I think, is still scheduled to be a SmackDown superstar on USA Network on Friday nights. She wins the Women's Royal Rumble. Nia Jax will be in there at the end, I believe. Again, anything is possible. 30 entrants over the rope. My favorite PLE event for WWE. And, of course, the Bloodline with the men and Fatu. Watch him. All right. No word on Brock Lesnar's return. You're hearing talk rumors, not going to happen. What else? And Saturday main event was pretty good. No Hulk Hogan as was expected. Jesse the Body Ventura looked good. Next one in July was good, but not as good as the first one where they re-debuted at the Nassau Coliseum. The Gunther Jey Uso match was a winner. Gunther Goldberg maybe for WrestleMania. Who knows? Talk about Goldberg. Maybe Goldberg shows up at the Men's Royal Rumble. All right, AEW. Let's quickly get to them. Omega and Fletcher teaming up with the Callis family. Saw that on Dynamite last night against the Callis family. Good tag team together. And this, MJF and Jeff Jarrett. The new against the old timer. And really, MJF is just trying to get rid of Jarrett completely. He's annihilating him every week. But still, MJF, the top heel in AEW, he's the greatest worker on the mic. Maybe not out of WWE and all wrestling, but could be. But in AEW, continues to be a top heel. And then you got Tony Storm and Mariah May. I love this. Mariah May is back. Now, Tony Storm. Tony Storm is back. Amnesia is over. And now she's going to vengeance against Mariah May. This is great. And what they did on Collision Saturday to bring her back to the real Tony Storm, clever. And I'm not a big fan of the storylines of AEW and what Tony Khan is doing. Their ratings are down. They pick up a little bit, they go down again tremendously. Their arenas are half full, but I love Tony Storm. And I love the fact she's bringing back the old gimmick. The amnesia is over. Though I think I got amnesia at times. Or AEW All In, setting up for Australia. And also Grand Slam, no longer at Arthur Ashe in New York. That's coming up. All In is their big game coming up, conflicting with WWE. And by the way, the Royal Rumble on PLE, on Peacock, and AEW Collision, head-to-head Saturday night. You know who's going to win that war. I don't know who's going to win this war, but he's waiting. Here's my buddy, Robbie Rebel, live with his weekly rant, the Rebel Rant. And then, Robbie, when you're done, you're going to go through the fact of the week with me. All yours, Rebel. Go ahead. It's the Rebel Rant. I keep it in the ring.
I appreciate it, Rich Mancuso, and this is part of the program where we ponder and pontificate the problematic perplexities plaguing the professional wrestling business today. My name is Robbie Rebel, and this is the Rebel Rant. Now, I just want to plug myself a little bit. If you want to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, just look for the man, not in the top hat this time, but actually in the blue plaid sweatshirt, because I'm standing next to the prettiest woman in the world. That is my new fiance, and Robbie Rebel is getting married in 2026. I am on top of the mountain, baby. Whoa, yeah! Now, a little bit of disclaimer before we start this whole thing. I just want to know everyone to know that everything that I say or do on the Rebel Rant does not reflect or the views of Rich Mancuso or Keep It in the Ring themselves. So let's start talking about Saturday. Yes, Saturday. I'm going to be actually going out for for a little dinner. We're going to be talking about. Wait a second. We're not talking about Robbie Rebel on this one. We're talking about the historic Royal Rumble. Yes, the Royal Rumble. Now, a little bit of history on the Royal Rumble. I see that people are starting to put some things down, so let's hear it. Who's the first person to ever Royal the Rumble? Tick-tock, tick-tock. Nope, nothing. Didn't think so. You guys are too stupid to even answer. Who's the only 4 people to ever win the Royal Rumble back-to-back? Nah. I don't see anything. Rich, nah, nothing from you? Didn't think so either. The longest time, the most eliminations. Well, unfortunately, I know that you were talking about how much you love. Thank you so much, because that is actually made with my name on it. But Rich Mancuso, you were talking about how much you love the Royal Rumble. Unfortunately for me, it's a snooze fest now, brother, because everything that has been happening, they're bringing back all the people from the nursing home to see who has the last hurrah, probably using the Sid Vicious it up inside the ring, which means that there's a little bit stinky stuff going on. And then there's also people who are just doing consistent spots, consistent stuff that just doesn't make sense. I hate the Royal Rumble personally, and I don't know why anyone gives a damn about the Royal Rumble. Back in my day, it was the greatest thing. Back in the 90s, we were talking about the Royal Rumble. We were talking about the Big Four pay-per-view, Royal Rumble, Summer Survivor Series, King of the Ring, and then obviously WrestleMania. But with everything that's happened, the only thing that I did like was stuff that Kofi Kingston was doing, and unfortunately we're not going to see him. And then you have 2 of these matches, which is going to be 6 hours of just boring, tossing people over the ropes. So I want nothing to do with the Royal Rumble. You could keep the Royal Rumble, and guess what? Here's something that you probably didn't see. John Cena is going to win it. He made a John Cena thing. Very funny. But there is something that has something to do with a Rumble that Robbie Rebel is going to be part of, and it's in a place called NYWC. Yes, now it's my turn to plug myself instead of talk about other things. Thank you. I appreciate that. You could follow me on Facebook or Instagram and then just click right there. Yeah, go ahead. I'll wait. All right, time's up. So
time is up. You got to wrap it up, because I got to do Fact of the Week with you.
Okay, February 22nd, you want to go down to NYWC and see Robbie Rebel actually put some asses in the seats and have a little bit of money that you were actually able to put into and actually sink your teeth into? Come down to Farmingville in Long Island, and you're going to see Robbie Rebel at NYWC Psycho Circus. Also making his return, I'm going to plug one of my best friends out there. His name's Cade Lothbrock. 7-year hiatus. He's actually making a return right there. Also, March 8th, CCW, Robbie Rebel is going to be taking over there. So there's your finish up, because you don't give me enough time.
I'm going to walk you into the ring as you rant, right?
I'm just going to keep going. That's all I can do. But you don't give me enough time anymore, Rich.
Why are we running out of time? Because you like to rant, but I want to do the Fact of the Week with you real quick, because it's a wrestling fact. It's not trivia. Thomas, put it up for the Robbie Rebel, the Rebel rant, as we do the Fact of the Week. It's not Fact of the Week till you put it up if you have it. If not, I forgive you. All right. Here you go, Rob. Now, you know Jake the Snake Roberts, a WWE Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
You know what he was all about. The distinction of him bringing the snake to the ring. He really did love snakes, by the way, in the history. But there's just something about him, the distinction of Jake the Snake Roberts, besides the snake in his wrestling career. Do you know what it was? This is a fact, not trivia. Wasn't the snake. Something about him. Nobody knew about his career and what he did or didn't do.
There's a couple of things. I know that the fact that he's a second-generation superstar. I know
but that's not the fact.
He created the DDT.
That's not the fact.
He also didn't yell in his promos.
That's not a fact that I have about him that I want.
All right, then let me hear it.
You're going to get mad at me?
I'm already heated up because you were talking about the Royal Rumble.
Well, you know, in his illustrious Hall of Fame career, Jake the Snake Roberts never won a belt, as they call it, or a title. He never did, which shocked me when I got this.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. He never won a title. He was known more for the snake, Damien or whatever. Anyway, Robbie Rebel, the Rebel Rant, thank you again being on Keep It in the Ring. I understand your statements. I understand what you were trying to get across. Hold more of them to next week. As always, my friend, keep it in the ring. See you next week.
I'll see you next week, Rich.
That's the Rebel Ramp, Robbie Rebel on Keep It in the Ring. Getting more controversial week by week. I made him into a monster. Back in a moment, we'll wrap it up. One brief timeout, nostalgia, and we'll wrap this all up. I'm Rich Mancuso. Keep it in the ring. Like, comment, subscribe. My YouTube channel, String Punk Entertainment, AGT Network, like the Facebook page. Back in a moment. Keep it in the ring.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Keep it in the ring quickly. As we reach top of the hour, nostalgia time. We do it every week. We take it January 30th, 1982. That's Wilfredo Benavidez defeating Roberto Duran, Hall of Famers. Unanimous decision, retaining the WBC Super Welterweight Championship. Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, Nevada. The fighters here combined records of the two 117-3-1. Unbelievable. Last successful title defense here for Benitez, a 3-division world champ. He would lose the title to Thomas Hearns later that year. January 30th, 1982, Las Vegas. Hall of Famers Wilfredo Benitez and Roberto Duran, known with the No Mas with Sugar Ray Leonard. And we go back to February 1st, 1965. Heavyweight champ, Hall of Famer Floyd Patterson beat George Chuvalo, unanimous decision, non-title heavyweight title at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The 12-rounder was known as Fight of the Year. And February 5th in 1977, Sugar Ray Leonard, just talked about him, his pro debut on the CBS television network when boxing was not streamed, but on national TV at the Baltimore Civic Center. He becomes a 5-division champion later on, the great Hall of Famer, Sugar Ray Leonard. And that's our Nostalgia Bad for the week. We do it every week on the program. Hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Ending on sad notes tonight, first of all, condolences to the victims of that awful plane crash, the tragedy with the helicopter in Washington, D.C. Our thoughts and prayers are to those families, and just a horrible, horrible time. Horrible for this country and for your aviation and so forth. And rest in peace to a good friend, an old friend, 80-year-old boxing legendary scribe, as we call him, writer, Michael Katz, from the Bronx, like me, went on to be a Hall of Fame writer and is the Nat Fleischer Award and the Boxing Hall of Fame, numerous other awards, Boxing Writers Awards, everywhere else. Michael Katz wrote for the New York Times and the New York Daily News. Now, Michael had still been around. And if you knew Mike, you knew him to be controversial. Yet, he was very, very helpful. In fact, I'm going to flash back to the early 1980s. There was a boxing gym in the Bronx, New York, known as the Jerome Boxing Club. In fact, many of the great Latino champions used to train, even the late Hector Macho Camacho, often at the Jerome Boxing Club. So the owners at the gym at the time, Torres family, contacted me back then because the gym was going to be, they were getting dispossessed of the property. City of New York supposedly owned the building, and the boxing gym was on its way to closure. Michael Katz came to the rescue. I called him. I said, look, not only is it a great story, but you'll be helping the community, the kids, and the people at the Jerome Boxing Club. Michael Katz came with no problem. He said, I'll be there. I'm a Bronx guy as well, and most of all, a boxing guy. Michael sorted out the story, got the appropriate people on the phone, wrote a major feature on the New York Daily News at the time. The gym was saved. That's the type of man the late Michael Katz was. Controversial, sometimes very difficult to talk to. Believe me, I know that. We had a very rough beginning to get to know each other and then develop that mutual respect at ringside. He had been ailing, passed away to a nursing home, 80 years of age this week. Rest in peace, Mike. Great friend you are, great colleague. Ringside has never been the same since you left. The boxing world lost a warrior boxing scribe. And that's it for Keeping in the Ring this week, my friends on the program. Thank you for joining me. Tommy D, great job. Thanks for joining me behind the controls and also breaking down Morrell, Benavidez. That's the fight to watch Saturday night. Amazon Prime pay-per-view and payperview.com. We'll analyze it next week. We also want to thank all of you for once again joining me every week here on the program. It's Keeping in the Ring, live on my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, most of all, subscribe also at Stream Punk Entertainment, the AGT Network. Get my social media handle, X, Twitter, Ring786, also Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. I'm also on Instagram. Read my content on LatinoSports.com, also on String Punk Entertainment. So until next week, I want you all to be well, stay healthy, be good to each other, and God bless. I'm Rich Mancuso. Thanks for watching. See you next week live again, 8 p.m. Eastern, Thursday night. And as always, keep it in the ring. Thank you.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.